All right, could you please introduce yourself and your name, where you live, race, anything you think would be relevant?
Okay. My name is Monica Olson. I am 38, 39. After a certain age, you don't remember exactly how old you are. I'm a mom. I've been living in Canada for 27 years, and I am Latina, and I'm married. And I live in Woodbine, so in the suburbs of Calgary.
And where did you come from?
I came from Peru. I was born in Lima.
Perfect. Do you have times that you feel Canadian and times when you feel left out? You've been here a long time.
Absolutely, yeah. I do both. Times when I feel Canadian, Canada Day. You always feel Canadian on Canada Day. No matter who you are, I think, just because you sing the national anthem, you're excited about it. Times when you feel left out, it's kind of funny, often, not necessarily feeling left out, but of course people see me and they have a hard time talking about race sometimes, so they will go around the question of, oh, where are you from? So I like to mess with people, be like, Woodbine, Calgary. And they're like, yeah, but like, where are you from? I'm like, Woodbine. Oh, you mean where I'm actually from? I'm from Peru, so yeah.
Let's see. How does world history appear to you?
It depends. I mean, right now it appears to be repeating sometimes when you look at some of the things that are going on in the United States, especially being Latina. That's a huge thing. Just with some of the, we won't get into politics, but sometimes it feels like maybe we are forgetting world history. So, yeah.
What about a big issue is like the story of Columbus and the European explorers discovering North and South America. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I find that actually the relationship with that story is very different in North America than it is in South America. We don't have, I felt like when I lived down there was not much differentiation between being native or native of the country, meaning like Aboriginal of that area, because it felt like we were more of a mix. It seemed like the question of race is greater in North America than it is in South America. Everyone in South America is a mix of something to some degree. That's one of my observations, but that's just could be my own personal observation. Yeah.
Good one. Also, I forgot to mention, we're not showing this in the entirety. They will pick and choose to edit together. So if you don't like a question, you can just say I'm not answering it.
Okay.
Can you describe something that you experienced due to your race that a white person would probably be unaware of?
Well, just recently we went down to South America and I was sitting at a concert with my family, and funny enough, someone asked me if I was their translator nanny. And I said, no, I am their mom. And I just thought it was funny. I'm sure that, you know, if Wyatt had a Caucasian wife, nobody would ask her if she's the translator nanny.
Has that ever happened here?
Has that ever happened? No, because my children look Latino.
They do look Latino.
Yeah, but if they didn't, maybe, but it hasn't. Yeah.
Do you feel like you need to make white people comfortable by not using specific words or not doing specific things around them?
Generally, no, but language sometimes can be. Like I have stopped myself from speaking in Spanish. Generally, for example, if I'm with my mom, who doesn't speak very good English, but there are other people around, I try to repeat myself, say it in Spanish and then say it in English again if there's someone else. So it could be a matter of manners, but yeah, you probably would change that just because you want the other person to understand what's going on. But
what kinds of things do I do as a white person, or anyone as a white person, you don't have to say me specifically, that annoy you or drive you crazy or maybe are a symptom of my privilege?
I think sometimes, and of course not you specifically, Janine, but sometimes in family discussions on what I like to call my white side of the family, my spouse's side, sometimes there are certain things that they will have opinions like, why don't they just suck it up? Or why don't, they have so much, why, we had to work hard. I'm like, well, you necessarily did not have the same upbringing, so maybe those opinions sometimes can be a little bit
So they don't see their privilege.
They don't see it, and I just sometimes it bugs me.
Do you ever say anything? Well, this is getting into family dynamics as well as just race and privilege.
Yeah, no. Sometimes depends on which family member it is. Like any family dynamics, you have a different dynamic with each person. So yeah.
Do you feel like white people? Well, maybe this follows that question well. Do you feel like white people try to speak for you instead of listening to you?
Not all the time. I don't. Well, sometimes they think they know who I am or where I'm coming from, but sometimes I don't know. Like I said, I in my opinion though, maybe because I was really young, I don't think of it as race. Sometimes people just speak for you because they think they know better. Is it because they're white? Not necessarily. I think it's just because they somehow believe that they know better than you, which is not always the case. So
that's a whole other psychology class.
Right.
How can dialogue and action help understand privilege and promote social justice? This is going back to your family.
Well, I think it has to come from both sides. You have to speak up, and also they meaning in this case family members, for example, that are white, have to not be afraid to ask, because I think that's one of the problems that we're running in society, is because we want to be sensitive to someone else, we don't ask questions, and so it's kind of a I don't say and they don't ask, so no dialogue is happening. So that's, I think, one of the biggest problems. Yeah.
So when someone, back to your first thing about the people who are, where are you from, what would you rather they say? Or not? Should they not say anything?
You know what? No, I actually don't mind. I mess with them, but I know what they're asking, and I do always tell them. And I think sometimes when I'm messing with them, I'm trying to make it bring a little bit of humor so that they don't feel so uncomfortable. Because it is sad sometimes that people feel uncomfortable, like, because I have friends, for example, that are Chinese, and I will ask them, well, where's your ethnic background? I guess I could just come right out and say it, because it doesn't feel weird to me, but, I don't know. Hopefully that answers the question.
No problem. That does. So in our readings, we learn about being an ally, and an ally is someone who listens and acknowledges privilege and oppression. But being an accomplice takes it a step further in being willing to make personal sacrifices to commit to a course of action. So an accomplice tells the world that they recognize the system for what it is, and that they're willing and able to work to dismantle it. So do you feel like you have allies or accomplices in your life? And you don't have to name specifics, you can just talk in generals.
I think in general, I would say that most people, for the majority, are pretty much allies, or try to be. I don't think anyone has ever tried to intentionally offend, and with respect to race, at least, or many other things. So I would say the majority would be allies. I think sometimes the second word was
accomplice.
Accomplice. I think sometimes the government is a bit of an accomplice, but those go into my political ideas. So, yeah.
Well, what I want to know is, what can people do to be more of an ally or an accomplice for you?
Ask questions. Just ask. If you were wondering about something, ask. And yeah, I think that would be the main thing. Just continue the dialogue, and that way, hopefully, people will understand more, because more understanding helps more communication. So yeah.
Great. Is there anything you'd like to talk about that we haven't touched on?
No, I think we're good.
Perfect. Thanks, Monica.
No problem.